Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Cormack, and I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor and Principal of UBC's extraordinary Okanagan campus. And I'm really delighted to welcome you here to this webinar. I'd like to start by respectfully acknowledging the Syilx Okanagan Nation and their peoples, whose traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory UBC is located on. I would also like to acknowledge that you're joining us today from many places, near and far, and to acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. It's more important than ever to think about the territorial acknowledgement as we say it and as we listen to it, because we are all joint members of the relationship between the settlers and Indigenous peoples and need to take our obligations, especially as settlers, very seriously. I am pleased to welcome you to our spring student town hall. Our goal today is to tell you some of our initial plans for a return to campus in September and to provide you with as many resources as we can that can help you solidify your plans for the fall. This is also a chance for us to hear your questions and concerns and make sure that we're doing everything we can to provide peace of mind for you, our students. This has been an incredibly difficult year. We've all been challenged in ways we've never experienced before and endured loss in many forms. Some of you may feel uncertain or apprehensive about our impending return to campus and so-called normal life. Others may feel just excitement or a mixture of many emotions. I want you to feel safe to express your feelings and to know that you are not alone. This past year, in many ways, has felt like a pause of regular life and of the many plans and milestones each of us personally held. But through the many challenges and changes we've all experienced this year, UBC Okanagan has continued to move forward on our strategic plans to support the growth of our university and improve student experience on our campus. If this fall is your first time on our campus, we're excited to welcome you and show you the many incredible facilities and services that make our campus a beautiful, unique, and welcoming place. The next time you set foot on campus, those of you who have been here before will notice several new changes. And I'm so excited to share some of the developments to the face of our campus this past year. First and foremost, as we prepare to welcome more students than ever before in the coming academic year, with a goal to expand our student population to 18,000 by 2040, we've built 2 new residences that will add 440 new beds to our campus housing. The Skeena residence opened in 2020, and the Nishako building will welcome students in September. We also have new academic spaces that include an interdisciplinary makerspace, high-head lab, electrical lab, mechanical lab, as well as an incredible new manufacturing lab fully equipped with industry standard manufacturing machines. There's also a new undergraduate lab space in the engineering design lab that opened in early 2020, as well as an engineering specific makerspace. Also opened in September 2020 is the new state-of-the-art plant growth facility. These new spaces are crucial to our future vision for UBC Okanagan as a world-renowned academic and research institution. Whether your instruction is online, in person, or a blended model of both, our academic mission will always be to ensure our students receive world-class education and experiences. I'm so proud that you've chosen to take your education journey with us, and I hope for the opportunity to meet you in person this fall. I'll turn it back to my colleagues to go through today's program. Thank you, and over to you, Nathan.
Thank you, Leslie, and good morning to everyone joining us this morning. As Leslie said, my name is Nathan. I work in public affairs at UBC Okanagan, and I'll be helping guide the event this morning. I also have the pleasure of moderating the Q&A a little bit later in the program. So I'm going to start by giving you a sense of how this event is planned. We're going to hear from 5 additional speakers over the next 40 minutes or so, including our Associate Vice President for Students, the Deans of the Faculty of Health and Social Development, the Irving K. Barber Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, and the College of Graduate Studies, and the President of the UBC SUO. They're going to cover a variety of themes this morning, from planned student supports, student union initiatives, planning for a safe return to campus, what to expect around teaching and learning, and research resumption, to name just a few. Following the remarks from our speakers, we'll hold a Q&A session for approximately 30 minutes using the Q&A function within Zoom. You are welcome to ask your question at any time by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of your window. You can also engage by liking the questions that you have a particular interest in. We'll do our best to answer as many of the most popular questions as we can once we get to the Q&A session. I'd also like to note that live closed captioning is available for this event and can be accessed by clicking on the closed captioning icon at the bottom of your window. So without further ado, I'd like to ask UBC Okanagan's Associate Vice President for Students, Dale Mullings, to turn on his camera and mic. Welcome, Dale.
Thank you so much, Nathan. I'm just going to share my screen. I am thrilled to be able to join you today to share some of the feedback that we received through the Fall Restart Survey that's helping inform our return to campus this September. The goal of the survey was to understand student preferences, their perceptions around a return to campus, and concerns that they might have about course delivery for September. What we hope to do, and what I hope to convey through my presentation today, is that we wanted to better understand what matters for students, and so we could provide a response and help you see that your voice matters in understanding how to return to campus safely. In late February, we conducted a survey and we had over 1,800 students provide responses, both in response to the survey and commentary through social media, and a rather engaged student population from domestic and international students, undergraduate and graduate students helped inform some of our response. Some of the key findings around course delivery and communications that arose from the survey is that students mostly wanted courses to be delivered in person with a few online options. And they also wanted timely communication about important course information, like the format of courses. Would it be synchronous or asynchronous? Would it be in person, online, or offered in a hybrid scenario? I'm pleased to say that as of today, the academic calendar is live, and students will be able to go online and see what courses are available in person, as well as hybrid and online. Courses are available well in advance of 2 to 3 weeks before registration so that you can adequately plan your fall and winter semesters. I want to strongly encourage you to work with academic advisors and your faculties to be able to plan your specific fall return. Each of our courses are clearly labeled that highlight in-person, online, or hybrid, and you'll also be able to sort for courses that require no in-person attendance. And we're going to show you an example of that throughout part of our presentation today. When it comes to concerns with mixed course delivery, some of the top concerns that arose from students was quiet study space on campus to participate in online classes. We understand that some students will move between in-person course delivery and what might be a synchronous online course immediately following. And so that was a concern for students. We also heard primarily from international students, but also some domestic students, that access to technology to be able to transition between an in-person and online course on campus was going to be a barrier that they needed support with, as well as having reliable Wi-Fi on campus so that they could engage in course activity. So in terms of our response, we've created an inventory of all informal learning spaces across the campus, which we'll provide a link to as well in the chat. But it allows you to sort the types of spaces that might be more adequate for your learning style. If you have an online course and you want particularly quiet space, or if you want an opportunity to study together as a group in a location, you'll be able to sort and find those locations through this inventory. We've also established a $250,000 technology bursary so that students can continue to move between spaces, both in person and virtual, to be able to continue their studies. We've also made enhancements to some of our IT infrastructure across the campus. And so you can expect that in some of our high traffic areas, such as informal learning spaces or where students come together to eat, you can expect high quality Wi-Fi in those spaces. With regards to in-person considerations that we should respond to for students, we learned that students are concerned about clear safety protocols for both public and classroom spaces. They want to ensure that there's adequate cleaning and sanitizing supply, and also understand vaccine access and the requirements around vaccine to return to campus. So our response, we've added additional staff, and all high-touch services and washrooms will be cleaned daily. Safety protocols will be clearly communicated in advance for students, and you can expect before you return that all students will be asked to complete a Canvas course around a safe return to campus, just so that they fully understand the safety protocols. With regards to protocols, they will align with the most up-to-date public health guidelines regarding masks, having access to hygiene stations. So I think you can anticipate that masks will be a daily experience on our campus this fall. We've also established some new student roles to support you, and these are peer roles as COVID ambassadors to answer questions that you might have, provide education around protocols, but also be able to reinforce positive behavior for students that are adhering to public health guidelines. If you're an international student or a student out of province, with the support of the BC government, we want to inform you that all students, as you arrive, will have access to vaccines. Although you won't be required to have a vaccine to attend campus, it is highly encouraged, and we want to ensure that you are doing so if you are able, for your safety, but also for the safety of our full community. Through our survey, we also learned that many of you are concerned about your living situation and finances as a barrier to your success this fall. Housing availability and affordability were one of the top concerns. Additional financial pressures, especially for international students that are expected to quarantine and self-isolate, or for students that are out of province or international students that haven't been to the Kelowna area previously, but are looking for off-campus housing, how to navigate that system and ensure that they have the financial resources to secure a place with their last month's rent. And also we understand that many students, families have been particularly experienced hardship related to loss of income, and that students have been impacted by not necessarily having access to jobs to be able to pay for tuition. So our response is that we've created a series of off-campus housing ambassadors. These are students that will help students that may be less familiar with the local area navigate the off-campus housing market, understand their rights and responsibilities as somebody that rents, or if you sublet, let you know about the specific areas that might be along the bus lines to be able to support your access to campus. And we've also established over $2 million in needs-based bursary support for students. So some examples are an on-campus housing bursary, an off-campus housing bursary to address those students that may need support to secure a place with the off-campus or with the last month's rent, a self-isolation bursary for international students that are coming to Canada and need to self-isolate for 14 days, as well as every student will benefit from a 10% bookstore discount throughout the fall. In a given year, we would traditionally support students with work study positions such as undergraduate research projects or opportunities for undergraduate and graduate students to work within services across our campus in the range of $500,000. This year, we've invested $1.6 million in student employment opportunities to help address student employment need and address some of that need in terms of needs-based support. And then for students that will be living in residence, they'll also have an opportunity for a residence isolation package, which I'll talk about briefly. With regards to housing resources, residences will be at 100% occupancy. That is our current plan if everything continues based on the province's projections. As noted, our Skeena and Ochako buildings are planned to be open for this fall, so we have additional capacity, and we are trying to offer additional support for first year and second year students that haven't been to the Kelowna area in terms of the housing offers. The first round of housing offers will be going out in the next few weeks, so keep an eye on your email. And again, for those that are looking to live off campus, you will have the support of off-campus housing ambassadors. For self-isolation resources, based on current guidelines within Canada, international students that are arriving will be expected to self-isolate for 14 days upon arrival. There are, if you are in residence, you will have access to an isolation package for students, and that information will come to you directly by email. And then some of the pricing is indicated here. For students that will be living off campus, we will be providing information around off-campus housing through the housing website, as well as we've created partnerships to provide affordable student hotel space for self-isolation, as well as all international students will have the opportunity to register to be supported by a self-isolation peer ambassador who will engage daily in creating community, ensuring that you are doing well with your health, and connect you to resources while you're in self-isolation in the community. And then finally, for students that are new to campus, second-year students will have access to an in-person orientation. We definitely learned from second-year students that haven't been to the campus that they don't know necessarily how to get around, how to connect with the resources and supports that they can receive in person. And so how best to do that, we've decided to offer an in-person second-year student orientation. For first-year students, we'll offer a flexible first-year orientation, which will blend in-person and virtual elements. So if you can't attend the campus, if, say, for example, you're an international student and you don't receive your visa in time to be able to arrive, and you will have access to a virtual orientation program, but we will also have in-person orientation activities. We learned from students in this survey that they wanted the opportunity to come together with other students to build community, but wanted to do so in a safe way through small groups. And so all of our orientation programs this year will be a maximum of 50 students per group, and you will continue with that cohort throughout your orientation program. We've also expanded all of our peer mentor programs to support first year and second year students, particularly with a focus on supporting students through a hybrid learning experience. For all students, most student services will be offered both in person and online. So if you need access to an academic advisor, one of our Aboriginal programs and services advisors, or to recreation programs online, you will have access. We've expanded our counseling and health services. We'll have evening hours with our clinic. If you require long-term counseling support, we've increased some of our counseling to be able to offer mid-range, multiple month support for counseling for students. And we're also increasing service by providing trauma-informed counseling. The expansion of our 24/7 virtual counseling support will continue for the next year as well. So if you're out of the country and you require counseling support in your native language, you'll be able to receive that as well. This virtual support is available in 160 different languages 24/7. For all students, we're establishing a new student experience desk. It's a first stop to be able to navigate the campus. If you're unclear on where to get support in terms of what courses to be taking, if you want to connect with a club and engage with students that have a similar interest, this is really your first stop to be able to be connected to the services and supports that you have across this campus. So more to come later this summer, but we're really excited because this will be a peer facilitated desk where you'll have the opportunity to be able to engage with senior students that have navigated the system successfully. We're also expanding the hours of our student learning hub to benefit all students regardless of time zone. And these supports will be offered both in person and virtual. So if you require tutoring for math or science or supplemental learning with a peer, that will be offered regardless of where you are in the country or in the world. So with that, I hope that you feel as if your voice has been heard and that we are responding as a campus to your needs. Thanks so much, and back to you, Nathan.
Thank you very much, Dale. Next up is the president of the UBC Students Union Okanagan, Tashia Kooteneu. Please take it away, Tashia.
Thank you so much, Nathan and Dale, for all of that information. The Students Union is looking forward to welcoming back our current students and saying hello to our new students this fall. In 2020, the SUO of UBC ran a biannual student experience survey that continues to inform and improve the services that we provide for you. Today, I wanted to highlight a few 4 key areas of the SUO that will be of interest to our students come the fall. The Students' Union is committed to diversity and inclusion on our campus. This year, the Board of Directors established a UBC Diversity and Inclusion Scholarship that will be available for IPOC students this year. In addition, we are also, through the survey, increasing our health and dental coverages for the 2021-22 year. Information around your health and dental plan can be found on our website at ubcsuo.ca. With your return to campus, we are implementing a more cohesive orientation experience for our students to better understand the services we provide for you, as well as expanding our network providers, which means we'll be extending on our dentists, optometry, pharmacies, and more services to provide you better deals when accessing these health resources. Through the student experience survey, we found that students need improved coverage when it comes to mental health. And this year, we will be improving that $600 line to at least over $1,000 for students. The UPass is another student union provided service. In the past, the UPass has looked as a sticker on the back of your student card. However, this year, we are going to be encoding cards to limit barriers for our members and improve the usage of the UPass. This process is still in the works and being figured out, and we'll definitely have some kinks along the way. However, you can always access support around your UPass at the SEO office found in the UNC building across from Fusion. Next, and finally, is our Green Text low-cost consignment bookstore. The Student Union is always working to ensure affordability for students on our campus. This includes low-cost books. So you can come into our bookstore in the fall and even see an improved service with low-cost printing to further our commitment to open educational resources and as well as limiting barriers to education for students. The Green Text bookstore can be found also within the UNC building. The Students' Union understands that this has been a difficult time, and we are continuously working to improve our students' services for you. You can always access support at the ubcsuo.ca, where we can email you and answer your questions firsthand. As we're currently in the process of creating our strategic plan for the fall, we will have updates as they come. If you have any questions, I'll be around to answer them. And thank you so much. Back to me.
Thank you, Tashia. So next up, we have Gord Binstead, Dean of the Faculty of Health and Social Development. Gord, if you could turn on your mic, and welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Nathan, and welcome everybody from wherever you're coming. It's my pleasure to be here both as Dean of the Faculty of Health and Social Development, but today it's more in my capacity as a member of the UBC Okanagan Resumption Planning and Coordination Committee. To give a bit of background, this is a group that represents both academics, but also operations and strategy units from across UBC Okanagan. And the group's task is really to make sure that as we resume functions on campus, we're doing so in a safe manner and in a manner that's consistent with the public health orders as they come out, and then most recently in coordination and in alignment with the BC Go Forward plan from the provincial government. This group's task, as I said, is to work for things right from cleaning to air handling in buildings, safe work plans, physical distancing in teaching and research areas, special events, right the gamut that happens across the university, and to coordinate across this campus and with the Vancouver campus. And in fact, the two co-chairs of that committee actually also sit on the UBC System Planning Committee as well. At a provincial level, our Vice Principal Research from the Okanagan campus also sits on the University Planning and Coordinating Group that works with the provincial government. So we're tied in at all levels, and really the goal is to make sure that as we come back to campus, we do so in a safe manner that's going to be supportive of everybody returning. I'm going to highlight a couple pieces, and some of which Dale has already brought up. I just want to make sure that we're clear what we can expect. It's always worth saying things twice sometimes. As far as masks, as mentioned, although mask orders may ebb and flow according to the public health order, I think it's reasonable we can expect that they're going to be part of our lives going into the fall. Whether that, depending obviously on what those return to work plans look like, that may be in classrooms, it may be in uncontrolled hallway spaces, and we'll have to play that by ear as the return to work plans come up and as vaccinations and infection rates across the province vary. but regardless, we'll be doing so in a manner consistent with the guidelines for BC's post-secondary system. As far as physical distancing, I think we're not planning, and I think we will not reasonably require physical distancing in classrooms and instructional settings. The plan there, again, depending on infection rates and such, is just to maintain sort of multiple levels of infection management. This being daily health checks, staying home when ill, hand washing and hygiene, and maintaining up-to-date safe work plans and cleaning as we move forward. We'll be doing some upgrades to things like air handling systems in the buildings and increased cleaning services in classroom settings in high-touch areas. Rapid testing. Right now, UBC Vancouver and UBC Okanagan have been doing some pilot programs about rapid testing for faculty, staff, and students. We plan on having similar pilots as you return, but we have to keep you posted on exactly what that schedule is going to look like. Obviously, our participation in this will be voluntary, but obviously encouraged. As Dale has mentioned, the BC government has assured that all people in BC will have access to vaccines. That's regardless of your immigration status or residency, any residency requirements. And so for us, that's fantastic. It means that everybody, all of our UBC community will have access to a full vaccination regime. Vaccines, as Dale said, while not being required to be at UBC, obviously will be strongly encouraged. And then finally, as I said, we're upgrading a number of the ventilation systems to be in accordance with the new COVID-19 recommendations from the BC CDC. And as I said, we'll also be upgrading our custodial services to make sure that all surfaces are clean and safe. Realistically, we're not expecting large amounts of plexiglass, as all of us have gotten used to over the last little while. However, in some circumstances, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in situations where you have high face-to-face handling in the future, but we'll have to follow that as we go. So I guess really what the final message here for me would be get vaccinated, and please access the vaccinations as the provincial government provides them. Stay home if you don't feel well, and generally everybody should treat each other with respect, and we'll all get through this in a safe way that allows everybody to have a great university experience.
Thank you very much, Gord. Next up, we have the Dean of the Irving K. Barber Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Sylvia Tomaskova. Sylvia, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nathan. My job in today's presentation is, while welcoming you, just like everyone else, to UBCO, and explain everything that you may have some anxiety about, or reinforce the questions that you may have and give you satisfying answers. But what I would like to talk about today is course delivery. You all will be coming here to take courses, and we would, of course, in an ideal world, prefer if you all were on campus. But we also realize that there may be circumstances such as international students who may not be here in time to take in-person classes, or students who may have health conditions, or students for a whole host of reasons may not be able to be with us. So we will be offering as many classes as we can in person, but of course we will also offer classes online. What I would like to show you today, and I'm going to share my screen now, is how to find courses and then how to select them. And if you would like, then you can just follow with me on the same website. So all the courses have been already posted today, and you can find them at this website, which is students.ok.ubc.ca. And there you will find a fairly clear explanation, I would say, a very clear explanation how all of this is going to work. As you can see, UBC is currently planning a return to on-campus activity, and it will be primarily delivered in person with the expectation that students will attend in September. However, there will be a selection of courses that will be available for online delivery. And now you may want to know, so how do I choose these courses? So I'm just going to guide you through this and actually click on this tool and show you. This shows the Vancouver campus, but it's exactly the same on the Okanagan campus. I think I have it here. This is the Vancouver campus, and this is the course schedule that you will get to. And as you can see up here, it says course schedule, and the courses that you will be choosing is by subject area, then the course number, the keywords, and then what I want to draw your attention to is whether the courses require in-person attendance, and then what is the mode of delivery. That's what I will focus on. So let's just imagine that you are a student who is not specifically interested in any one subject area, but of course you can search it by the subject area, but just want to know what courses are available to me in person or courses online. So as you can see here, you have a choice: in-person attendance, yes or no. So we will choose no, because that is probably the one more tricky area that you would like to know about. And then mode of delivery, and I want to draw your attention to this category because there are courses that are hybrid, in-person, and online. The in-person is very clear, and that's what it is you will be expected to come to class and you will be taking classes in person. The online is also fairly straightforward, which is these courses will be offered online and you will be attending all the sections of the class online. However, what I want to draw your attention to is the hybrid format. So let's go to choosing yes and leave everything else empty so that we can see what courses are, and let's search for sections. Now you will get all these courses in various disciplines. And again, you can choose this by the field of your study. And here I want to stress what Dale also said. You should work with your program advisors because you shouldn't be just choosing courses randomly, but rather work with them. But then you will see this kind of what is in person and then what are the comments. This is mode of delivery. It says in person, and then you get to hybrid. However, when you get to this mode of delivery in person, you should pay very careful attention to the section comments because many large lecture courses will have an in-person lecture, but this will have also potentially some online recitation sections. And this is what you will find the information in the student comments. So this one says this course is restricted to graduate students. So that is only for graduate students. You can go anywhere here, and here it says, please contact graduate students. So let's go to a much lower level classes, or we can go back and say course number 200 and then search again so that we get some lower courses. And then again, make sure you look at this, what is recommended, and then also the mode of delivery. So in any of these section comments, you will find out what the requirements are, whether these will be in person, but potentially with online recitation sections, or what the availability is. So this is just to show you how you can find all this information and you can know that classes will be offered to meet your needs and your demands. We will work with you. Every department has been instructed to be first and foremost a compassionate delivery service. And therefore, we will really work with you no matter what mode you would like and how you would like to access us. So the in-person, online, and then the hybrid are best searched in this format. And then you can decide how you want to attend your classes and get assistance with it. If you have any questions about this, we will be more than happy to answer them. And now back to Nathan.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. And now for our final speaker this morning, before we move into the Q&A, we have Peter Simpson, who's the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Nathan. Us in the College of Graduate Studies are looking forward to September with a great deal of optimism. And what will be of interest to you particularly, I think, is that we hope to see research activity returning to full speed and more or less as normal, pending developments in public health. And so we'll be following the provincial, the BC Restart Plan. And of course, safety is a priority. Not only safety of students, but faculty and staff as well. Now, you know, I love working in graduate studies, and part of the reason is that you get to see the whole campus, and there's a real diverse array of different kinds of scholarship that goes on. And because it's so diverse, it's hard to make a broad statement now about what exactly those scholarly activities are going to look like in the fall. And so I recommend, if you've got specific questions, you should get in touch with your program, because every program's different. And as I say, there's quite a broad range of activities there. Each individual faculty has developed its own safe work plan that's relevant to the activities that happen there. One way in which our activity will not be returning to normal is that you should stay home if you're sick. I'm a physicist, and there's a culture that I see in some disciplines that I call the hero of science mindset, you know, where you have a broken leg, but you limp into work because you're very dedicated. And that has to change. You know, if we're sick, we stay home. That's gotta be the way that it's done in the future. Turning to a few specific points, we're expecting to have orientation week. I appreciate some of you may not be able to come to campus. All the resources that you need will be available online. So information you need will be available online. We're also planning and hoping to have some in-person social activities. What exactly that will look like will be planned a little closer to the time when we have a clearer picture of the public health situation. Regarding meetings and activities like thesis defenses, currently that's all happening online. We expect to evolve back towards in-person. I can't make a prediction right now what that's going to look like, but I do want to make the point that we've had a great deal of success doing online thesis defenses. And, you know, we've graduated over 300 students in the past year, despite the circumstances. So, you know, there's been some challenges, but on the whole, people have navigated that pretty well. And I appreciate that this situation brings with it a lot of anxiety. It's got in it unknowns and uncertainties, and also changes. You know, people have got used to working from home from the past year, and the idea of having to go to the office all day is become a little strange. But the point I want to make to you is that life is full of transitions, and you've handled those transitions before. You know, it was a big step to start high school, and a big step to go from high school to university. So transitions are not new to us. They're sometimes challenging, but you know, we've successfully handled them before. So I say this to tell you to go forward with confidence. And if there are issues, there are supports available. So look at the online resources available to you. So just to summarize what I've told you, we're excited to return to campus in the fall. We recognize it's going to be challenging, and part of that challenge is that the information about what's happening changes all the time. But we've also seen over the past year how quickly and skillfully people have been able to adapt. And if you do have issues, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here for you. Back to you, Nathan.
Thank you, Peter. Well, that actually concludes the formal speaking portion of this morning's event. So we're going to get started on the Q&A, and I see a great list of questions starting to populate the Q&A box. So I'll ask the panel actually to now turn on their cameras so we can see who we're dealing with. And as a reminder to the audience this morning, you can ask your question at any time. You just click on that Q&A icon to pose your question, and feel free to like the questions that are most important to you. So I'm going to give a little bit of time for the Q&A to populate a little bit. And I'm actually going to ask some questions myself to the panel to get things going. And the first question is actually going to be for Dale and Tashia, I think. And I'd like to know if you can give us a sense of what sorts of opportunities there are going to be for those student social experiences, whether it's in person or online. Maybe Dale, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I want to assure students that aren't able to make it to campus that we will have opportunities to build community virtually for students. And so if you're first, second, third, fourth year, or a graduate student, being able to connect with students with similar interests is really critical to the university experience, and we'll ensure that that opportunity exists. And we'll continue to do that in small groups so that you'll have that opportunity to really make a real connection with students. Also, as you can expect, we are anticipating a full return to in-person activity this fall. So that includes everything from services such as our recreational programs that bring students together, as well as club and group activity and creating space for that is navigated through the SUO primarily, but providing that space safely across campus to bring students together, as well as if you live in residence, you can anticipate that bringing communities together will be a mainstay of our campus experience. And so, yes, you can expect both in-person and virtual experiences, regardless of how you have to engage with the learning experience this fall.
Thanks, Dale. And actually, Tashia, obviously the UBC SUO, contributing to the social fabric of our campus is pretty important for you. Do you have any insight about what those social experiences are going to look like?
Yeah, so right now, obviously with the resumption, we are planning for in-person events, but we are also planning, like Dale said, online events so we can really provide opportunities for all of our members to engage, and really pushing forward our student associations, so our clubs and course unions this year. So we will be running an expo. So for new students, whether they're new from last year or this year or returning, they will have the opportunity to connect with students in their shared interest groups and provide that opportunity as always. So yeah, both online and in-person events from the student union, and hopefully some great orientation events, and hopefully some of those in person.
I'm not a student anymore, obviously, but I'm looking forward to some of those in-person experiences come the fall. So I think we could all agree on that. I did want to touch on a question very quickly that was in the Q&A, and it was answered in writing, but the question was whether we're recording this session and whether that will be available online after the fact. The answer is, of course, yes, it is. We are recording and we will post it online, and we'll pop the link in the chat function right now so you can see where you can find the recording. It'll probably take a couple of days for us to get that posted, but it will be available. Just one more question before we go to the Q&A over to Peter. I was chatting with some of the staff from the College of Graduate Studies about the interesting position that I think grad students have at the university. They're sort of in between faculty and students. And I'm just wondering if there's, I know you've been hosting some listening sessions, you've been engaging with some grad students. What are you hearing from them? What are the concerns that they're feeling that are specific to grad students maybe?
I think mostly uncertainty about what the particular form of scholarship they pursue is going to look like in the fall, and again, the people who have the answer to that question are in the program, or your supervisor if you have one.
Yeah, I know not just about, there are certainly concerns not just about, COVID itself, but, what's it going to be like to go back to campus outside of just like the health concerns. But all of a sudden, we have to get dressed again, and we're not just on Zoom all the time. It's a strange time for sure. So I'm going to jump over to the Q&A. There is one question that rocketed right to the top. And I think, Dale, you actually touched on this in your presentation, but I think I'm going to get you to maybe just delve a little bit deeper into those informal learning spaces. And the question's from Ainsley. And they're asking, I'm wondering if we'll have access to online classes while on campus. Will there be designated quiet spaces to log in and listen on classes and participate? So that's really about informal learning spaces. So could you touch on that for us?
Great question, Ainsley, and thank you for allowing me to clarify. Yes, the answer to your question, we will have designated quiet spaces across the campus that students can utilize for when they're in a course that's maybe being delivered synchronously or asynchronously, and maybe they're already on campus because of an in-person course and you really want to ensure that you can focus. The answer is going to be yes. So our library will be open again this year, but we're also expanding the informal spaces across the campus. So you can expect some additional indoor space, as well as we're making investment in outdoor space for students to come together to be able to study informally. And so again, those spaces will be available through our inventory that students can sort through to find the best space that fits their needs.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dale. So next one on the list is, I think this one could be answered, maybe a combination. I'm going to throw to Gord first and then maybe to Sylvia as well. And I know, Gord, you did touch a little bit on social distancing. So maybe you can just reiterate the point you had originally made and just talk about how class sizes and locations may be adjusted to account for social distancing.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Yeah, and so at present, we're not anticipating having social distancing in effect for the fall. So in that sense, there wouldn't be adjustments to class size for that. Obviously, if the public health order changes, we'll adjust the public health order. But as of right now, we are not anticipating having distancing in place, and we'll instead rely on other mitigation strategies, cleaning, health checks, and potentially masks again if the public health order comes back that way.
Fabulous. And I think that probably answers that pretty effectively. So unless Sylvia, you had anything to add on the sort of the teaching side, but I think that probably covers it.
I would just add one more question that I think we will definitely follow BC public health guidelines. That's the first and foremost message we really want to convey. But the second one is we all should be cognizant of other people's comfort levels. And so if you don't feel comfortable, should just wear a mask at all times, because there is nothing worse than anxiety when we're teaching or when we're learning. So I would say follow the BC public health guidelines first and foremost, but also just adjust to your own personal comfort level, and you will be perfectly fine, and we will accommodate everyone.
That's great. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, the next question, I think this one goes to Dale again, and I'm sorry, Dale, it seems like you're going to be a popular person for this Q&A. But you did talk very briefly, or not briefly, but you did mention the housing ambassadors. I'm hoping maybe you can just let us know, maybe just go into a little bit more detail about what the role of those housing ambassadors is, like what can they support with, what can't they, just give us a little bit more of a sense. The question here is around navigating tenancy issues with the residential tenancy branch, but maybe just more broadly, what can and can't they help us with? Yeah,
thank you so much for the question, Cindy. Navigating the off-campus housing market can be a challenge here in Kelowna, and I really want to thank not only students that brought this up in the survey, but also the SUO, who has been a strong advocate around creating clarity for housing in the local community and making that a priority for students. And so off-campus housing ambassadors, there's at this time, roughly 11 places that students can search for off-campus housing. It can be rather confusing if you're not from the local area or if you're from out of the country. And so off-campus housing ambassadors can help filter through those off-campus listings, talk about communities that maybe students prefer and spend more time at, so you can actually make connections with other students, to be able to play a role in terms of making a match between you and potential roommates, as well as understanding your rights and responsibilities as a tenant. So yes, as you enter into an agreement, understanding what you can be asked to do, what questions you can ask around safety for yourself in terms of, say, fire safety. But also, there may be conflict between a landlord and a student. And student off-campus housing ambassadors, one of their roles will be to help a student navigate the off-campus resources that are available to them, such as legal services, to be able to navigate some of those challenging experiences they may face. Also, our off-campus housing ambassadors will be developing online resources for students to be able to self-navigate through some challenges. So as you enter maybe your first off-campus lease, what are some things to be looking for? So they can do that on their own time. And then if they have emerging questions, they can engage further with an off-campus housing ambassador. But also, if you're new to Kelowna, it can be rather confusing to understand, what can I recycle, and do I have to clean the sidewalk in front of my house that I'm renting, in terms of if there's snowfall on a particular day. And so we'll be developing a good neighbor guide for our students to better understand their responsibilities and be a good neighbor in the local community as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dale. I'm going to try and answer this question actually, and it's around co-op. And so what year do you apply for co-op? What does co-op look like? So what I can tell you about that is most co-op placements start the summer following year 3. So applications open in September of your year of eligibility. Oh man, I can't speak this morning. So you should really check out that information on the COVID page. We're going to post a link to that in the chat very shortly here. So hopefully that answers that question, but do look into that, the link that we're posting for additional information. Okay, next is on vaccination and quarantine. And the question is, do fully vaccinated students also need to quarantine for 14 days? Maybe Gord, if you could attempt to answer that one.
Yeah, I can try. I mean, ultimately, that's going to be a decision for the Government of Canada to make on where that stands. At present, yes, that is currently the situation, that regardless of your vaccination status, there's a requirement to quarantine at a designated hotel. But we'll have, I think the best answer on that one is to watch the Government of Canada announcements on that and stay abreast of that, because as we know, these things are all actively changing right now. So please just look to the Government of Canada site, because they're the ones who control Canadian immigration.
Yeah, thank you, Gord. And I should mention that we're not going to have all of the answers to every single question that comes up right now. This is going to be something that we contribute to over the next few months. So in addition to obviously the Government of Canada website, I do encourage everyone to look at our own COVID-19 resumption website on at ok.ubc.ca. We'll actually pop a link into the chat so you can see we have a very extensive FAQ that links off from that page. Lots of information. We're updating that. It seems like on a daily basis. So that's also a very good place to find some generic questions or answers to generic questions like that. Okay, next one is from Cindy, and that's a question about where to find information about bursaries, like the technology and the housing bursary. Again, sorry, Dale, to always be calling on you, but it sounds like a good one for you.
Cindy, again, a great question, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to clarify for students. Something that we did here is that the range of bursary options that's maybe made available to students can be confusing to navigate, especially if you're a new student to the campus. And so we've worked very hard with all of our bursary partners, including the SUO, who has put forward over $100,000 of dedicated bursary funding for students in need, and also a specific bursary that focuses on BIPOC students, where students will be able to go to one location to apply for bursaries, whether that's the off-campus bursary to get support with their last month's rent to secure a house, if it's for the technology bursary or if it's for isolation housing, all of this can be navigated through one place. So later this week, you can anticipate information coming available where there'll be one website and one resource to be able to learn about all of the funding opportunities, as well as how to access them through a one-stop shop.
Perfect. Thank you, Dale. I'm going to jump down a little bit. This is a question from Dylan, and it's around accommodations when students are in quarantine. So if they're registered for mainly in-person classes, but they have to go through a 14-day quarantine, will there be accommodations to help them through that? I think Sylvia might be best placed to answer that question.
The answer is absolutely. We cannot issue sort of a generic policy for everyone in terms of what will happen, but we will definitely stress everyone will be accommodated, but this will have to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis between the instructor and the student, because it completely depends on what kind of class it is, what the requirements of the class are. But there are certain programs where it may become very difficult or more complicated, I should say. And then again, the student needs to work with the instructor and figure out how to make the accommodation possible. But there is no blanket rejection as to once you cannot come to class, we will not want to deal with you. Absolutely not. But this is a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely. Gord, did you want to jump in on that as well?
Yeah, and Sylvia brought it up, but I sort of highlight it because in my faculty, it accounts for a large number of students. I mean, I encourage you, if you're going to be in a situation where you are quarantining into the academic year, as soon as you know that's happening or the timing of that, please reach out to your program. So not just the instructor, but the whole program. So for example, in my case, School of Nursing, there's a lot of required face-to-face pieces that have to happen. And it's going to take, the more time we have to work with you to find solutions, the better it's going to be. So I guess with that, just please reach out to your program as soon as you know that situation is going to be coming in, so that we can work with you to find solutions that get you through it.
And sort of on the same theme, I mean, that was a question around academic concessions, but maybe Dale, I know you talked about this in your presentation as well, but just touching on the resources for students that might need to go into self isolation or quarantine, can you let us know what resources they can access from the university if that's required?
Yeah, so I know it's been stated a couple times, but I want to emphasize there is an on-campus isolation bursary opportunity for students, but also if you're off campus and you're required to do the 3-day hotel stay and then 11 days additionally locally, we will ensure that there's funding opportunities to support you if that's needed for you. We also will allow students to self-identify if they would like to be part of a program that allows a connection between other students that are in self-isolation. And that would be a peer mentor that's reaching out, connecting through programming, making sure that students are fully aware of all of the health resources that are available to them, checking in on them daily, and making a connection really to ensure that people are maintaining positive mental health. And so there'll be some connections through some of our clubs. There'll be some connections through some of our services, like our recreation programs, just to help students who may be in isolation feel connected to other people that are new also or returning to campus as a part of a bigger community. I hope that answers a little bit of the question, but it is opt-in. So we do need students to opt into that experience, and we strongly encourage it because 14 days in a hotel room, returning to Canada or in a new country can be rather isolating and challenging. So let us help you make that transition a very positive one by reaching out to other students that have had to make a transition to Canada and help support you in that way.
And Tashia, I understand that there are some resources and services through the SUO as well, yeah?
Yes, I just wanted to remind students, I see a lot of advocacy questions and housing questions, and the Student Union also provides a tenant lawyer that we have on retainer. So if you have any questions or any issues with a landlord, please do reach out. We can also send you what your rights are if you're not aware, to ensure that you're not getting yourself in any precarious living situations. In regards to academics, we do provide individual academic support for our students. So please visit our website if you have anything that you need clarification on. We work very closely with the Ombuds office. So if you are having issues with any accommodations, please reach out and we can best support you, whether it is knowing who to talk to or reaching out to a prof on your behalf. So just wanted to remind students.
Perfect. So there's lots of resources and supports available there. Thanks to both of you for that. I'm going to jump down the list a little bit because I really like this question and it's a good one for Peter. And that is research opportunities. Are there any research opportunities for first and second year students that maybe you can touch on?
First and second year undergraduates?
I assume so, yeah.
There may be, and you know, we really like to integrate the research and teaching missions of the university. So if possible, it's something that we as an institution like to support. But my answer as to so many questions is the place to go looking for that is with your program. And there may be individual faculty members who are looking for research assistance.
Absolutely, and maybe Sylvia and Gord, from the perspectives of your faculties, I know I've seen through a lot of the media releases we write that there's lots of faculty that do have undergraduate students that assist with research. Did you want to touch on that a little bit?
For the arts and social sciences, there are definitely plenty of opportunities, but again, I would repeat what pretty much everyone has repeated, which is get in touch with your program, the department, and then the specific interests you may have. If you just would like to get research experience, but you're not sure in which area, then I think go to the program advisor and they may direct you towards faculty who are in a position to have research experience that they can provide and make that opportunity for you possible. This is one area where I would say, imagine what is it you would like to do, and then just ask someone, how do I do this? And we will find people who will help you do that. Gord is in a very different kind of experience, so I would turn it over to him.
Thanks, Sylvia. Yeah, I mean, I'd absolutely agree with Peter and Sylvia. I mean, reaching out to your program, I would say that certainly in the more sort of STEM and health science sides, a lot more of the programming for research really devolves down to the individual researcher. And so, you know, if you're in a class and a researcher, you know, is talking about a topic that you're excited about, you know, I really strongly encourage you to reach out to that professor, find out what they're doing, because in many cases, that professor, through their research grants or whatever, may have opportunities to either volunteer or paid time in their labs for hours over the school year or the summer. So, you know, I think it's really, this is where self-advocacy really needs to be a bit of a piece here, where reach out to the professor, you know, and tell them how excited you are about whatever the topic was. And I must say, having been a teaching professor for many years, having students reach out with that excitement is one of the best things that can happen in a professor's day. So please don't think that you're imposing.
Okay, over to Dale again. So this is around orientation for second years. I know you specifically said that there's going to be some targeted orientation sessions specifically for second years who, interestingly, have not been on campus yet. So could you just dive into that a little bit? And actually, Tashia, I'm going to turn it over to you as well, because I'm sure you also have some interesting things happening at UCSUO around that. So why don't we start with Dale and move over to Tashia afterwards.
Nathan, thank you. So for second year students, we've created new second year orientation leaders that will help deliver a very specific program that's being designed only for second year students that haven't had an opportunity to be on the campus. That really resonated in the survey, that students were feeling that they haven't really had strong opportunities to make connections with other students through their virtual experience at times, and also to really be aware of the clubs and activities that are available to them. And so this will be a program in small groups designed specifically for you. And you can expect that an email will come directly to you if you are a second year student later this summer with registration information and information about the program specifically, so that you can sign up and participate.
Tashia, I'm sure you have things planned as well.
Yeah, so our VP Campus Life, as well as our VP Internal, we're working really closely to create some programming that really does speak to this issue of the gap. So we really do want students to know when we're going to be tabling right away what services we provide to you, as well as promoting Expo, which I want to remind students, for students who haven't been on campus before, provides you an opportunity to connect with student associations, clubs, and course unions, and really get involved in things on campus that speak to your interests. And so they'll be doing their individual programming, and we'll provide that platform both online and in person for our members. So just stay tuned on our social media to get updates on those specific events. But that's some of the programming that we'll have available.
Great, thank you. Okay, COVID testing. Gord, I'm going to ask you this one. You did mention some rapid testing pilots that were happening on our campus and in Vancouver. Do you have any more specifics about that?
So I don't have any more specifics yet. We're still working on the details of it. It is certainly our intention to have have voluntary rapid testing available to students, faculty, and staff as we return in September. But the exact details of how that will be done and in what capacity is still TBA. I would say also though is if you're a student who feels you have symptoms. As before, it remains the Interior Health has a hotline to phone, and they'll refer you to the more comprehensive testing that Interior Health does. But as I said, the planning is to have a drop-in voluntary testing for rapid testing in September.
Perfect. Thanks, Gord. Okay. Sorry, I'm just scanning through to see which ones I want to ask now. The isolation package. This is an interesting one. Dale, you talked about that in your presentation. Is this a first come first serve? How is that rolling out? How do you get the isolation package if you need it?
Yeah, so for on-campus isolation, that package, there is a limited number of spaces available to students. So yes, it is a first come first serve. And so students are beginning to receive information about that as their acceptances come to them over the next couple of weeks. And so we do encourage students to act early on that registration. For the off-campus isolation bursary, that will continue throughout the fall. We'll continue to offer supports through the ambassadors throughout the fall. And then as we come to understand, what the winter term 2 begins to look like, and if more international students are able to return to Canada at that time, if visa applications and processing for medical exams and biometrics open up, we will look to expand and continue that program through the winter term if necessary.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dale. And I think there was a link, sorry, to those packages in the chat. So definitely go back and check that out. Next question is around negative test results. Again, maybe I'll go to you, Gord. Is there a requirement to have negative test results before coming to campus? Oh, I think you muted yourself.
There is no requirement before coming to campus. Obviously, we expect students to do health scans and such for their own health. If, however, you're an international student returning to Canada, again, I direct you to make sure we keep an eye on the Immigration Canada site for their rules regarding pre-trip and post-trip negative tests, because those restrictions currently do apply, but no specific one for returning to campus.
Great, thank you, Gordon. This is a question. I think it's related to accommodations. So I might put this one to you, Sylvia, although it's a very specific example of one. And the question is whether you can join and attend in-person classes in the middle of term. So I'm going to extrapolate a little bit here, and I'm going to guess that they mean, can you start online and then join in person halfway through term? Can you speak to that at all?
I think that is a very difficult question to answer in a very straightforward way. I think that if a student is online and then wants to join in person, as long as the instructor is fine with it and they can make arrangements and agree that the work has been done, whatever was necessary for the class, I do not see how that would be a problem. I think it would be far more complicated if the student wanted to join a new class in the middle, if I understood the question that way. So I think that this is, again, between the student and the program and the student and the instructor. And I am going to also imagine that there are a number of courses where this just would not be possible due to the activities that need to take place. There are labs, there is certain research that needs to be done. And I think that that would be very, very difficult. So while I'm not going to categorically say, no, it's not possible, or categorically say, oh, by all means, I would again say the same we've been saying all along, is you need to work with the department, the instructor, and look into the possibilities of making this happen.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm also seeing a few questions scattered about here about how to find courses, whether they're online or in person. And Sylvia actually did a very thorough walkthrough of trying to how to find your courses and how they're organized. So rather than Sylvia making you answer that one again, I will just remind everyone that this will be available after the whole session will be available after the fact. It will be available online, and Sylvia did a great job of walking through that process. So definitely go back and take a look at that. There's also a link, I think it was early in the chat, and I can't remember when we put it out, but yeah, it is nicely spelled out online as well. Okay, I'm going to jump down a little bit to, this is a question from, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Sarthak, I think. And is there a walkthrough to how to find the right courses for your field? This is really about academic advising. So why don't I go to Dale first off, and then Sylvia and Gord, if you have anything to add afterwards, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for this question. Navigating what courses are critical for your program can be very confusing, particularly if you're a new student or as you advance in your academic career and you want to have kind of a specific experience, understanding what are the requirements, or can I get an exception for a particular course, sometimes requires specific conversation with an instructor, with the faculty program advisor. Your first stop can always be your academic advisors. So our academic advisors are trained to be able to support you in understanding the course requirements for any particular course across multiple disciplines. So we have specialists for certain faculties, as well as they offer kind of general support, connect you to another academic advisor if necessary for a very tailored or specific question. They also have very clear lines of communication into the faculty program advisors to be able to get a specific question answered, or if a student has already asked that question in the past, we may be able to just directly offer you a response based on the response from the faculty program advisor. And so I want to strongly encourage students to utilize their academic advisors early. The academic calendar is posted well in advance at your request, so that you can have an opportunity to really build out your program. We would hope, if you're comfortable coming to campus and doing in-person classes, that you would be able to take advantage of in-person classes. And then we want to try to free up as many of those spaces that are available for online learning for, say, students that are international students that can't enter the country. We understand that some of our Indigenous students, their communities may be in a state of emergency, and they may not be able to access in-person classes right away. And so they may want to choose online courses first. And so we do want to offer some priority in that way. And so please do work with your academic advisor, who can then make connections into your faculty program advisors.
And actually, before I turn it over to Gordon and Sylvia, if they have anything else to add, I'm also quite conscious that, Tashia, you are a student that is going through this process. Do you have any advice, or how has that process been, or how was it for you when you were a first year?
As a first-year student, what a unique thing. I actually joined UBCO through the Aboriginal Access Program as well. So that program is really interesting because it allows students to slowly integrate into the university environment. So I know it's so scary right now to navigate things such as citing and all those kinds of references. So I'll just encourage students to reach out and ask as many questions as they have. Reach out to the library, ask about that support, reach out to the CTL if there's any questions you have regarding Canvas. I know it can be complicated to use, and really reading those website pages that are being provided in the chat right now is so beneficial. Always just ask, reach out to the SUO if you have any questions about services we provide, but even we're able to help you navigate some of those services that UBC provides for enrollment. Rachel at our front desk is lovely. If you send her an email at office@suo.ca, she will gladly help you. And we're always here for our students. So.
Gord or Sylvia, anything to add?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start by saying that I strongly encourage people to reach out to the advising in Dale's shop. They're fantastic. They really know, in many ways, they know the progression of things better than the people in the faculties do in many cases. And so start there, absolutely. If, however, you've got a career path that sort of, now you're not asking questions about just what courses I need, you're asking about how to construct things for a specific career path, whether it be, in my case, ultimately applying for the graduate social work program or whatever other programs afterwards. I think that's where you start with the advisors in Dale's shop, but then they I'm sure will encourage you to reach out to career advisors embedded within faculties to help talk you through sort of the somewhat more arduous and turning way of accumulating courses towards whatever your ultimate career goal is.
I would like to speak a little bit more to the students who actually may not know what they want and who don't have the career path all planned out. And I very much encourage you not to feel that you are somehow lesser than all the other students who know exactly where they want to be at the age of 25 or 30. To the contrary, I would encourage all students to also take courses that do not fit your career path, but are imaginative, or you just wonder about them, or you never heard of them. And so I very much want to stress that Dale's office and all the faculties work together. They will help you navigate all of this, but they also will advise you take courses just out of interest. And so not everything that you will be doing at UBCO and what you will be experiencing necessarily should be this direct line towards something. There are so many paths that we all take throughout life that don't always go through a straight line. And if there is one thing that we probably learned through this past year of COVID is that there are so many unpredictable situations. And so take advantage of all of us here who want you to be a richer person in life and get as best an experience. And that may not necessarily come through a linear path forward. So reach out to everyone, ask students like Tashia, which courses did you like that had nothing to do with your career path? And she may tell you that I took this amazing class. I am not probably going to ever do it in my life, but it was awesome. So that is my input into this.
That's very, very good advice. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And actually, Peter, I should give you an opportunity as well to speak to this specifically on the grad student side.
Well, yeah, I would like to encourage students to take advantage of the opportunities that are there for them. This was a long time ago, but my recollection is that high school trained people of my generation never to take initiative. And then you get to university, and yes, there's a set of required courses and required activities, but really there's a whole variety of other things you can do that are fun, interesting, eye openers to things you didn't know existed. There's a whole world out there to look at. So my advice is don't miss out on opportunities.
Great. And actually, Tashia, I'm really interested in the question about which course you took that had nothing to do with your program and that you loved. I won't make you answer it right away, but I might circle back to that one at the end of this session, and you can shout out to your favorite professor. Okay, I do want to actually ask Dale a question, and this feels a little bit unfair because for those of you who don't know, Dale actually joined UBCO after the pandemic started, I believe. So for a lot of these things, it's going to be new for him as well. And one of them, and this is one of my favorite parts of the year, is move-in day. It's a really exciting period for those that haven't experienced it. It's really fun. And there is a question here from again, apologies if I mispronounced Yashika, about move-in day. So maybe Dale, can you talk about how move-in day works, what students can expect from that process if they're moving into residence?
Thanks, Nathan, and thank you for this question. Move-in day is such an exciting experience, especially as a new student, all of the energy and nervousness, but also knowing that everybody else is in that same boat, and to have the opportunity to connect with upper year students that want to only help you make a successful transition to the university in your first days and hours here on the campus. Certainly, I have not seen the move-in process here. I did join UBC Okanagan, as Nathan mentioned, on September 1st, so I did miss that this year. But you can anticipate a extended move-in process for students this upcoming fall. Because we have international students that will be arriving fairly early in August, as early as mid-August, to be able to navigate their quarantine periods and then isolation. In residence, we'll have students arriving throughout. And then rather than having one major move-in day, we'll anticipate a number of days where students will be able to arrive and still have that experience of bringing quite a bit of energy from upper year students that are within the residence population, supporting them in their move-in. So more information will be sent directly to students that are admitted to residence about the move-in day process and what will be move-in days process.
Awesome, thank you. So we're actually getting pretty close to the end of the Q&A session. I do have 2 more questions lined up, and as promised, Tashia, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. It doesn't have to be a course that wasn't related to your program, but do you have a favorite course that you took and that you would encourage everyone to take?
Yeah, so I just saw a question here that says take courses that are not necessarily of like in your area of interest and explore, and people were saying it's really hard to decide that as an international student and the costs that's associated with classes. And so it's interesting because I am an English major and I love CCS, so I'll give it a shout out. Sorry to the rest of the faculties. But I actually want to go into law, and when I started off at UBC, I took a lot of creative writing classes. Matt Rader's amazing. There's so many great creative writing processes. I'll shout that one out. And those are actually really helpful. They helped me a lot in my English courses and other courses, because creative writing may not seem applicable to some people, but when you learn how a story doesn't work, you actually learn how arguments don't work in a piece of writing that you're doing for academics. And so I would recommend taking some of those courses, even though they might not seem that they're relevant, because there are always principles that you can apply to your stream. So creative writing was definitely those courses for me.
Perfect. A perfect answer. Thank you so much. So we are coming to the end. I do have one more question in the bank ready to ask all of our panelists, and I'm going to do that in just a second, although there are lots of questions that we didn't get to, so I really do want to thank everyone for asking them. I do see a lot of them are related to quarantine and some of the health and safety or public health orders, I should say. I do want to put in a bit of a plug, not just for our website, but also for the BC Center for Disease Control website. For those of us who live in BC, we're used to hearing Dr. Bonnie Henry's voice all the time. But for those of you who aren't from BC, I really do encourage you to take a look at the BC CDC website, make sure you're familiar with what those public health orders are. We do our best to reflect those on our COVID information pages, but of course it's best to go direct to the source. So I'm just going to put that plug in. And related to public health, this is an important question for all of our panelists, and that is, has everyone been vaccinated already? I'm going to start with Tashia.
Yes, I have been vaccinated. As an Indigenous person, I was able to get my vaccination quite early, and I did a lot of reading on it so that it would help relieve some of that anxiety. And when I was there, they were super helpful to answer questions.
Fabulous. And everyone else, have you been vaccinated? I see nods across the board, which is great. I've also been vaccinated. I can't remember who said it right off the top, but we definitely encourage everyone to register to be vaccinated. It is open to everyone above the age of 18 now. So register to be vaccinated. It's really important to keep yourself and everyone else safe. So that is the end of the Q&A session. I think I may have gone over a little bit, but I am going to ask Leslie Cormack, our Deputy Vice Chancellor and Principal of our campus, and she's a face that everyone should get to know, back to the forum for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Nathan. And I do have to say I have been vaccinated, and I also want to say, as you think about your courses and your career, be open to possibilities, whether that's taking a different course, be open to possibilities. And that includes student clubs, interaction with students. You will have a much better experience. You'll have a great experience at university if you are always leading with yes. I want to thank you all again for attending our student town hall. I hope that what you've heard today gives you confidence that we're working hard to ensure that the transition back to in-person learning and campus life is being done safely and considerately of the many needs of our campus community. The safety of students, faculty, and staff really is our highest priority and remains top of mind in all of our plans as they continue to unfold. Each of us has a role to play in the safety and security of our province and our university and our country and the world, really. I want to take this opportunity to encourage you again to register for your vaccine. The more we are vaccinated within the community, the better it will be in terms of us coming together in September, and the harder for the virus to spread. This is, of course, not the end of the conversation, as you heard from Nathan and everyone else. I encourage you to visit our website to find information and resources on our return to campus, our student supports, and more. I wish you a really great summer, and I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible here in person, but to welcoming you back, however you are coming to campus, to have a great term and great year next year. Take care and stay safe, and we'll see you all in the fall.